I I just realized I was still chewing my gum. Give me 1 second. Alright, I have spit out said gum and yeeted the gum. I have spit out my gum and yeeted said gum into the trash can. That's a word. Those are words. Those are certainly words in an order. But anyways.
Hello everyone, happy birthday. It's been a while since I started to stream with the Rousey voice. No, it's not. I start streaming with the Rousey voice like all the time. But anyways, happy birthday.
Oh, no, I don't want to quit the game. I just want to tab out to lower the volume a little bit. Oh. Anyways, how's everyone doing today? Welcome back to Shibuya Scramble. You know what? You know what? A scramble sounds good right about now. Oh, I'm dreaming of like some egg with some smoked salmon. Oh, but you know what? I'll get it later, another time. But anyways, we are indeed back with Shibuya Scramble. We have so many fucking keepouts to break. I think, if I recall correctly. So Maria, we did get her. She survived the explosion. I think that's definitely kind of central right now, is making sure everyone survives the explosion. Everyone, I think, with the exception of Osawa, because he's the only one that's not really in Shibuya right now. So Maria has to be continued. Well, Achi has to be continued. I guess we did fix his story. Kano has a bad end. Yonikawa has a bad end, and Osawa has a keep out at 350. But we're not quite there yet, because the keep out blocks are always broken by stuff at the same time, so we're not quite there yet on Osawa. Let's see. Achi's story ends at 335. Who do we jump to? I forget. I think we did do this jump, I just forget who it was to, so I'm just gonna take a hot sec to recap. I think it jumps to Minorikawa, because yeah, they see Minorikawa on the street. And I think we're supposed to say something to him to get him to not go into Shibuya, I think. Or is it here that we jump to Maria? Moderately confused right now. Just trying to recap where we left off. Okay, let's jump to Maria real quick, because Maria does have a bad ending that we need to... Oh no, Maria has a keep at, Maria is one of the only two characters we have completed. I think it jumps to Minorikawa, if I recall correctly, because like we shout at him and be like, "Yay, get it back!" Run, Achi, run, Itami, run! Other guy who's looking for Miku. Yeah. So Minorikawa needs to go somewhere that's not looking for Miku, I suppose. Running one coin, we have already read this. I guess there's something else that needs to be done to... I think that's not quite where the jump is to fix the... Oops. Oops, someone just messaged me, so I gotta respond real quick. I'm in the midst of, I'm in deep in the apartment hunt right now for when I move, so, talking to some people and they're sending pictures of, like, property. Just making sure, I'm just turning on Do Not Disturb so I don't start getting, like, a bunch of pings in the background. There we go. Alright, sorry, you'll just have to persevere until you're able to win again. It's something you need to do yourself. But you were the champion at that one pub, right? Maybe your mistake was thinking that you'd be able to win in an actual, for real fight. Miku began to tremble. Smack. You jerk. Miku delivered a blindingly fast slap to Minonikawa's cheek. Why'd you have to put it like that, huh? You're so mean. Bursting into tears, Miku ran off. Hey, Miku! She gave no sign she'd heard him and didn't turn around. Minonikawa rubbed his cheek. It stung. For once he actually regretted what he'd said. Maybe he shouldn't have assumed she'd just be willing to give up her hobby. He did in fact know of several Aiki Jujutsu dojos. If only he had the time, he could have introduced her easily enough. Dang, but we have to... I mean, we do need him to chase her, but she needs to go in a direction that is, like, away from here. Checking his watch, he saw that he only had 30 minutes and change until 4 o'clock. There was no more wiggle room at this point. These articles need to get written, and fast. He needed to get back to this editing department, and yet... Damn it to hell, I can't get work done like this. Minonikawa broke into a run. But he didn't run for Heaven Publishing, instead he went after Miku. Maybe he should be going to Heaven Publishing? Yeah, that's still not right. Someone who shouts something at 3:30. It's Achi, though. What? I mean... I guess the only other option is here, right? Achi shouts. Alarm bells start going off in Achi's mind. Something from the van. But he doesn't shout at Minorikawa. Alarm bells started going off in Achi's mind. Someone from the kidnapping crew was in that van. It was dangerous to approach carelessly. Maybe Minorikawa happens to hear this? Stay back, don't get too close, Achi shouted. But she didn't appear to hear his cries. The hope of rescuing her sister had driven all else from her mind. Achi started to run after her. Hitomi had reached the vehicle already. She brought her face close to one of its windows. But the tinted glass obscured the view inside. Hitomi circled around to the minivan's other side. Achi saw her grasping at the door. She slipped out of his view for just a moment. There was a thunderous explosion and a gout of flame tore the roof off the minivan like it was made of aluminum foil. Hitomi? Horrified, Achi charged through roiling smoke, searching for Hitomi. He saw two figures sprawled out on the street several meters from the van. Okay. Nomi and Kanan. I mean, this is yeah. I mean, because Achi hit a to be continued either way, so like his story is done, so we can just continue. We already read this before, so... Flames of the burning van rose ever higher, roaring up towards the heavens. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, so that's Achi. Minonikawa should be... I guess let's try and jump from here then. Well, I mean, but like Livefire said, you don't necessarily need a jump to break a bad ending. You need it to break a keep out. A bad ending should be different, no? Running along Koendori in pursuit of Miku, Minorikawa heard a cell phone ringtone coming from somewhere nearby. But... What? I'm a little bit confused now. We're gonna say stay back, don't get too close. But I mean, if it course corrected Minorikawa, then it should have. His bad end here should disappear. What? I'm so confused. How does this not break? How does this not break Minorikawa's jump? Unless... I'm on the verge of Googling this shit. Okay, wait, let's try something. We're gonna jump from here to Minorikawa and see if anywhere in Minorikawa's story I can jump to back to Achi. No. Huh. Maybe we need to fix someone else's story first. Let's try and fix Kano's story, maybe? But how does I don't see how hitting Stanley would fix anything. Lol. Hello, El. How's it going? I'm so stuck. Unbearable thong. Such. I'm so confused where we are right now in this game, but. How you doing? Wait, did you hit him? No, not in the original storyline, but I'm thinking, what, maybe I'm supposed to hit him? I don't know, we're gonna try all 3 routes and see what changes. I'm the one who deserves to get hit. Thinking about Sasayama, Kano couldn't help but feel guilty. If I weren't such a bumbling clod, Sasayama would never have... Hey, don't blame yourself, Stanley said. You guys have been doing better than I expected. More sarcasm, huh? Stanley's mouth curled up sheepishly and he held his hands wide. Kuse's voice suddenly cut in over the wireless. We've located the blue minivan. It's in Jinnan Ichichome on Koen Dori. Wait, I just want to read what caused this real quick. At 15:30, something shouts something. So, Achi needs to shout, like, hey, back up, right? No, maybe I am supposed to shout Hitomi wait, because then they're gonna hear her name and get confused. They're both looking for Hitomi. Maybe that's what I'm supposed to do. I'm just here debating whether to roll cons or save for 3.0. I mean, who are the 3.0? It's Sino, right? Hitomi wait, Achi shouted. Are you fucking kidding me? I had to shout her fucking name. He told me wait. As he ran along Koendori after Miku, Minorikawa heard someone shout out a familiar name. Hitomi? It was a pretty common name. Ordinarily, he wouldn't have given it a second thought, but he remembered that one of the Miss Midoriyama winners was named Hitomi Osawa. That made him curious. So he's gonna run past the van or something now, right? A moment later, he heard a cell phone ringtone. He immediately recognized it as an Ayakamiki song. There were a lot of names that came up in leaks, like 6 to 8. What? I literally only heard the Sino, is that how you pronounce it? As well as like the green hair one, like Colleli or something like that. But that's only 2. How are there 6 to 8? His reporter's instincts tingled. He stopped to take a look around, and one young woman caught his eye almost immediately. He couldn't assume that any pretty girl he saw was Miss Midoriyama. After all, it'd be a little too convenient if it just so happened to run into her now. Still, it didn't cost him anything to ask, "Are you Hitomi Osawa?" He might as well at least check. But to his own surprise, he hesitated in embarrassment. He'd never been too embarrassed to ask a question before. He didn't get a chance to contemplate that realization. Kaboom! The bandage girl from the manga. No idea. Wait, so how do you... How could 6 to 8 names have come up in the leaks, but you don't know? Oh, they said... The leak itself said there are 6 to 8 Sumeru characters? Is that what the leak said? Maybe they do something like 2.0 and reveal like all the units at once for the region. I kind of liked that they did that, honestly. I got the impression that a lot of people liked it too. Because, you know... It builds anticipation a lot better. IMO. A massive fiery blast knocked him from his feet. A deafening roar set his head throbbing. What was that? What's going on? He lay in a daze on the ground, trying to wrap his mind around what had just happened. He got exploded. Behind him, there was a minivan fiercely ablaze. A minivan. An explosion. The first thing to pop into his mind was the attempted bioterrorist attack on Kusumigaseki 2 years earlier. An unoccupied minivan had exploded outside an MPD station, and afterward, a device meant to scatter dangerous biological agent had been discovered near the subway. In the end, no one had been harmed, but there were rumors that the government had paid a terrorist organization a hefty sum to keep it that way. Right now, Minorikawa was a stone's throw from the Shibuya precinct. Almost said instinct. Oop. I already missed one line. Could this be a repeat of the Kusumigaseki attack? That is a very long street. The entire area was in an uproar. People were running around in panic. Minorikawa could see several injured people lying on the ground, unmoving. And yet, despite the gravity of the situation, numerous onlookers were casually taking photos with their cell phones. Bruh. They actually did have really actual names. There's one named Tignari? Is that how you pronounce it? We all know what kind of meme gonna spawn out there if it's a thick girl. I mean, we all know Smeru's gonna just have some very dank memes. Get it. Minorikawa got to his feet, then went to try to get everyone away from the scene of the explosion. Okay, so Minorikawa lived. Hey, you guys, get back! There could be another bomb! Minorikawa looked around as he pushed back the crowd. He was getting the strong whiff of a scoop. He needed to write his copy ASAP, but he couldn't just turn his back on the situation now. Two young men were strolling towards the burning vehicle. They had the look of juvenile delinquents. Whoa, what the heck is this? For real? Ain't this dangerous? Like, for serious? The pair tried to find an optimal vantage point. We ran into these people earlier, I think, no? Hey, Minorikawa snapped. Don't get any closer. He spread his arms wide to hold them back. The young men came to a halt, but otherwise paid him no heed. Oh, this is bad. This is for real bad. Think this is a terrorist thing? Yo, get out your phone. Come on. Like, you think it's a terrorist thing? Dude, shut up. Just hurry up and call Susumu. The taller of the two dressed in red was ordering around his blue-clad companion. Huh? The boy in blue huffed. Man, do it yourself. Say what now? Bitch, this ain't no time to get yourself all worked up. Minorikawa stood there, arms still held wide, getting more and more annoyed at their back and forth. Yo, just make the call, man. The young fellow in red scowled. He wasn't going to back down. Huh? Yo, what difference does it make if you do it or if I do it or you do it? It doesn't matter any difference. So it don't matter if you do it. Can they shut up? Yeah, right. It don't matter. So in that case, you do it. Look, I'm telling you just to make the damn call. And I'm telling you to just make it your damn self. Oh, enough of this already. Minorikawa opened his mouth to tell them off. But then the young man in red spoke again. Dude, the goods from over at Endo Electronics are gone. You gotta let Susumu know. Scary mushroom man? Oh man, dude. I don't like Scaramucci. She's weird. Harbinger also on the horizon. The one with the mask? Totore is his name, right? I think he looked kind of cool. I'm definitely probably gonna roll for him when he comes out. Were you interested in rolling Sino? I know you were interested in Scaramucci. Sino, possibly. He looked kind of cool. He got a cool hat. I mean, it's not just a hat, but not sure. I don't know. I gotta kind of see more. I honestly have been not keeping up with leaks very much lately because, like, I mostly get leak information from Instagram, and I haven't actually been on Instagram that much lately. I've been kind of busy. What are the chances Mihoyo does a second Ani that's even more embarrassing? A second, anniversary that's even more embarrassing than their first? No way. They can't. Because there's no way to be more embarrassing than that. Totore, that guy looks psychotic. I know, right? I love a crackhead. Love a good kook. The name Endo Electronics caught Minorikawa's attention. Huh? Yeah, but ain't that all Achi dude's? I'm having a stroke. Yeah, but ain't that all that Achi dude's fault for getting all huffy at us? I mean, it was Kiryu who told us to go find the Endo storehouse. Yeah, but Susumu doesn't like dealing in stolen goods. Says it dirties the SOS name. Well, what a coincidence. Looked like these two were SOS members. Hey, Minorikawa, you two. Or Minorikawa called out. You two. He finally succeeded in getting their attention. Where's this Susumu fellow? I'd like to talk to him. He had no idea who Susumu was, having only heard the name just now. Still, from the way these two were talking, it seemed clear he held some position of leadership. You think I'd tell you if I knew? The fellow in red snarled. Minorikawa kept his composure. Listen, you guys know the Tenyu Gumi? The Tenyu Gumi was a Yakuza syndicate that operated in Shibuya. These street kids were sure to be familiar with the name if nothing else. I may not look it, but I'm in a pretty tight with the Tenyu Gumi. And maybe you two don't know it, but Susumu's been showing up at their office a lot lately. Susumu's been dealing with the Yakuza? For real? Sweet! The two punks bought it completely. What's SOS using as their hangout these days? I've got a little something to discuss with Susumu. Hmm? Right now it's a bar called Inferno. Minorikawa made a mental note of the name. Right, and Inferno is where exactly? The two young men suddenly looked distinctly uncomfortable. Uh-oh. Later. Yeah, I got a thing I gotta do too. Backing away, they took off through the crowd. Hey, wait up! I need to know where Inferno is! But the pair had already vanished. Ambulances began arriving at the scene and paramedics rushed out to tend to the wounded. Excuse me, would you mind answering a few questions? Minorikawa turned to see a man in a suit approach him flashing his badge. I don't think I can do the jump. Yeah, because I haven't reached that point in Kano's story yet. Leaks say we almost finally get Yao Yao, which would make sense. Yeah, where is she? She's like that dead meme, the one in the pool, like she's the skeleton at the bottom. Denture gem's supposedly gonna drop from some giant mushroom boss. Ugh. And there's possibly an electro Regivine. Good, those Regivine, they're kind of little bitches, easy to whoop. It's so weird that the most exciting thing about each new patch is looking for leaks for the next. I think Kevin said that once too. Like he doesn't even look forward to the patch dropping. He looks forward to the leaks that come when a new patch drops. Omega lol. So a detective with questions for him, huh? How about you answer a few questions for me? Was this an accident or an attack? We still don't know many details. Let me rephrase that for you. This is a major incident, Minorikawa exclaimed. Huh? The detective looked pretty flummoxed. I've been around the block a few times and I know all your police PR lingo. And when you start talking about the details, that is 100% indicative of a major incident. Brushing aside Minorikawa's remark, the detective tried another question. Did you happen to notice anything unusual prior to the explosion? Usual? Minorikawa thought back to the moments before the minivan blew up. Now that you mention it, I think I heard a cell phone ringtone. The detective tilted his head. A ringtone? No, never mind, forget that. So where was the ringtone coming from? It's not Osawa, no? There's no way a ringtone on someone's phone would be audible through all of that. Minorikawa struck the thought from his own mind as he said it. In all likelihood, he dissociated the ringtone and the explosion simply because one had happened right before the other. Kano. A large-statured Caucasian man called out to the detective. Evidently, the detective's name was Kano. Thank you for your cooperation, he said with a bow. Then he ran over to the foreigner. Mr. Minorikawa. Minorikawa turned at a female voice behind him. He found Miku standing there. She looked like she'd been crying. Miku, about earlier, He trailed off, searching for an apology. It's okay, that doesn't matter right now. Miku looked around the scene. Minorikawa followed her gaze. Something big went down here, he said. I know, she exclaimed. The explosion, I saw it happen with my own eyes. You what? Miku looked around nervously. Are you alright? He asked her. You're not hurt, are you? I'm okay. My ears are still ringing a bit. Ringing a bit is all. Good, so what did you see at the time of the explosion? Miku assumed a thoughtful expression. There was this girl who was running towards the minivan, and then I think I saw this other Middle Eastern girl suddenly make a dive for her. and then the van just exploded. Wait, hold on, Minorikawa said. So if I'm getting this right, it sounds like this Middle Eastern girl saved the girl who was running up to the van? Miku nodded. Just then, Minorikawa's phone chimed in. He'd received an email. It was from Chiaki. Mr. Mino, are you still working on your copy? Not kami. He checked his watch, and at this point the 4 o'clock deadline was barely 20 minutes away. Nonetheless, he decided to stay at the bomb scene. He could definitely smell a scoop here. He was sure of it. Well, duh, an explosion just happened. Even if he couldn't get his 6 pages done by 4, landing a major scoop would be enough to persuade the loan company. How's Yelan, by the way? I like her. She's really fun. I'm attempting, because this current Abyss, for once, is not Giga AIDS. Like, very little bleed, very little shields, like, no heralds and lectors, and their fucking shields with their, like, AIDS Beyblading or AIDS energy drain or just obscene amount of pyro application. So I have beat it with just Inazuma characters and just just Mondstadt characters. I'm on my way to beating it with just Liyue characters. And, oh gosh, the one big problem with Liyue characters is they're all fucking DPS impact. There are, like, very few supports, like Liyue supports. I mean, there are, but, like, they're DPS-based supports. There's no CC, which is so fucking annoying in 12.1 Part 1, I think? Whichever one has all of the, Whopper flowers. But yeah, I just need to get Yanfei to be stronger, because I'm running on that particular chamber, since, like, right, there's no CC, I just need a lot of DPS. I mean, I could run the Melt Ganyu, but I kind of want that to deal with the, what do you call it, the Magu Kenki, because, oh god, I need so much damage to, like, chunk that guy down, and I need a good shield, so I have to bring Zhongli and Ganyu for that. But, yeah, I'm trying to run on that particular chamber against the Whopper flowers, or Whooper flowers, I always forget if they're Whopper or Whooper. Whooper's a Pokemon, I think it's Whopper flowers. I'm trying, Beidou. Right now I'm running Qiqi, Yelan, Yanfei, and Beidou. It's what I call the random bullshit go team. No reactions, just no, endless reactions, but, like, it's not like I'm just running, like, Vaporize, or just Electro Charge, or just Overload. I'm running all 3 at the same time. But yeah, I really just need, like, more DPS on that, because, like, there's no CC, so I just have to really explode them. Finally, time to bring out the Lithic Spear. Is that the one that's good against... Oh, it's... No, isn't it the one that's good against the Pyro? Against Pyro enemies? Or enemies with Pyro on them? Chi-Chi does the auto attacks with the clam set. I do have the clam set on Chi-Chi, but she's not the on-field DPS. It's, yeah, I'm actually running Yanfei as main DPS. Because I also have her at C6, so she gets a shield every time she ults, so... And, like, she has really good ER, just, like, in general, since, like, Yelan and Beidou are both characters that just are, like, very high energy in general. Lithic is the weapon that gets you better with the more Liyue units? Wait, really? Oh my gosh, but I don't have any polearm users on the team. Bug! I have a sword. I have a catalyst. Oh my gosh, oops, I just knocked my jacket off the back of my chair. I have a sword, I have a catalyst, I have a claymore, and I have, a bow. I literally don't have a spear. I could give it to Zhongli, though, but that team doesn't have any problem. Wait, what exactly? Let me look it up real quick, because I've never used that weapon. I tend to not run Liyue characters very much, honestly, high-key. Let me just Google the passive real quickly. The character who equips this gains 7% attack increase. Oh, okay. But it's also not even. It's because I'm not even running like Xiao in the party. Although maybe I should because Xiao has better CC, honestly, than what I'm running right now. But the problem is like, oh, Xiao just needs like such a different type of support. Like Yelan and Beidou are really good with Yanfei because her autos can proc their ultis, but Xiao is like really needs a very specific type of support. Grr. What about the other Liyue team? Xiao plus Zhongli. I'm running Melt Ganyu, so I have Zhongli. I have Zhongli. Um, I have Zhongli, Shenhe, Ganyu, and Xiangling. Although in floor 11, I ran Xinyan just for pure shield, just max shields, and to help buffer Xiangling's ER, but also just because like yeah, 11-3 part 2 with like all the Geo doggies is really annoying, and Ganyu died, so and I don't have a healer on that team, so I just needed max shields just in case. It's one of the gotcha weapons. Oh, okay, so maybe I might have it. I don't know. Dirty MiHoYo. Xiao isn't your other Liyue team. Nope. If you get C4 Jean, sounds like the perfect Xiao support. But the problem is, she's not from Liyue, okay? I have C2 Jean. Oh my gosh, she fucking goes hard with Eula, by the way. 30k autos every, like, less, like, faster than every second. It's amazing. It gives 40% Nima shred. Imagine you sneaking in Kazuha's Liyue character, since his affiliation kind of unclear. I mean, to be fair, honestly, I thought about bringing Tortellini too, but I'm like, I don't even need him, honestly. He's not better as a main DPS than Yanfei, because at least Yanfei can actually trigger reactions. But if I bring Tortellini, one, it ruins the Yelan passive, and two, like Hydro on Hydro with Electro Charge is not quite what we need, I think. But yeah, I mean, I could try Xiao on that team, honestly, because I didn't want to bring him to floor 11, because floor 11 does have the damage over time doggos, but Xiao again needs a really specific type of support. Literally anything that just buffs attack numbers. Like, he doesn't even need attack speed, honestly. He just plunge, 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 plunge. So, I mean, in all fairness, I could even bring Hu Tao, but I mean, actually, yeah, for 12, because Hu Tao will have more damage than Yanfei, but the problem is, like, it's hard to bring Chi Chi then on the same team as Hu Tao. That's, like, another problem. What specific unit in Abyss do you hate the most? Like... Oh, like what enemy do I hate having to fight in, Abyss? I really don't like the Hydroelectors. They're really fucking annoying. It's just because they're so hard to CC, honestly. Even if you freeze them, they still monkey because they break perma-freeze more easily, I think. There's like a new Hu Tao team. Yelan Xingqiu. I guess actually that's an option too, and maybe Zhongli. Yeah, I mean, I guess since there is no burn on floor 12, like, cause in the past it's always been so hard to run Hu Tao in the last like 3 Abyss cycles because there's always burn. There's always either the dogs or like the Pyrolectors just do so much damage over time. If you get bopped by the fire, or they just do so much burst damage too if you get hit. But like since like current Abyss, like right now it's like, I mean, again, it's really just DPS impact. Even when the enemies hit you, you don't take that much damage. So maybe it might be worth a shot. I'll try it tomorrow. I don't remember. You won't be able to do next Abyss because guess what? Slowing Waters is back. 40-second E Hu Tao CD. Well, it's okay because, you know, I'm not even a Hu Tao main. I have her, but I'm not her a main. Just bring Eula, 5-head. GG easy. Oh, but it does mean I can't bring Yoi. So I don't know if you saw my pull L, but I did get C1 Yelan. And I was like, what if I went for C2 just for monkey fun? But nah, I think I'm gonna save for C2 Yoi. Yoi Mia is probably like my second best DPS right now. My Yoi is so strong. 50k fucking autos. Okay, maybe not 50k, 40k freaking autos, but she's juiced. The fuck? Double in 10? Yeah, I did one 10 pull and I got 2 Yelan in the same single 10 pull. I'd never had that before. I'd had it like in a given set of 10 pulls, like, oh, like I did a 10 pull or something and I got a 5-star, and the next 10 pull I got another 5-star. Like, I've had that before, but I've never gotten 2 5-stars in a single 10 pull. C1 is so nice for exploration. Yeah, I enjoy her like her E a lot. It's like it's really fun. And she go fast. Also, I forgot that I'm playing Shibuya Scramble. Back to the game just a little bit. Just to, you know, keep moving. Minorikawa jotted his phone number down and handed it to Miku. I'll make things up to you, he said. Give me a call later. Miku took the scrap of paper, puzzled. If you're looking for an Aiki Jujutsu dojo, I know a few. After that, her face lit up. Minorikawa decided to process the scene for clues as he wandered around. As he wandered around, he caught sight of Detective Kano and his Caucasian colleague headed down an alley. What's that I smell? Something pretty damn fishy. If they were slipping away for a private conversation, maybe there was some way he could listen in. Minorikawa hurried into one of the buildings that bordered the alley. He looked around and found a public bathroom upstairs on the alley side of the building. Hoping beyond hope, he slipped up to the bathroom window. Voices outside. He held his breath and listened. Those international criminals you mentioned? Kano's words were faint, but he could make them out. Minorikawa did a little fist pump. Correct. Roughly 8 hours ago, they infected Maria Osawa with the UA virus, and they let her loose somewhere in Shibuya. Hold on, by UA you mean... The discussion involved some terms Minorikawa wasn't familiar with. He focused all of his mental energy on what the two were saying. This is a killer virus with a 100% mortality rate. Once it takes hold... Oh, mortality rate once it takes hold. 100%, Minorikawa muttered to himself. The shock caused him to unclench his fist he didn't realize he'd made. This wasn't just an interesting conversation, it was monumental. It has an incubation period of 12 hours. In another 4 hours, Maria Osawa will go symptomatic. After that, she'll begin spreading the virus through the city. It's capable of airborne transmission? If we don't administer Kenji Osawa's antiviral before she develops symptoms... Yes. Everyone in Shibuya is going to die. Are you getting C2 now? It sounds OP on paper. I'm probably not gonna keep rolling for Yelan, mostly because if there is a Yoimiya rerun coming, I really want to pray for her C2. Her C2 is really strong, so... Yoimiya! She's like I think she's probably my second or actual favorite character to play. Because I still like playing Eula a lot. Oh, I've like maxed out friendship with a lot of characters, so like I've been running around with Eula in the party and doing shit. Again, it's nice. Minorikawa felt goosebumps rise all over his body. If they were talking about a virus and a Kenji Osawa, they could only mean that Kenji Osawa. He recalled what Osawa had said earlier about the power balance of the world being at stake. There was no doubt about it. This was a tremendous scoop. Well then, we need to find Maria Osawa and get the antiviral to her as soon as possible. Well, no, they need to find Hitomi Osawa, right? Just calm down. There's more to the story. Oh, it's starting to leak out. The door swung open and someone came barging into the bathroom. Bruh! Not this fucker. It was Yanagishita. Why him again? And why here of all places? Oh, I'm leaking here! Yanagishita was on the verge of hysterics. His voice must have been audible outside. Kano and his companion went to take their discussion elsewhere, and they'd just been getting to the good part. You son of a bitch! Enraged, Minorikawa grabbed Yanagishita and tossed him to the floor. I'm leaking! Shut your mouth! He put all of his strength into an ankle hold and gave it a good twist. Yoisi 2, what does it do? It's every time she has a crit hit, her every time she lands a crit hit, she gets a 20% pyro damage bonus. I forget if it's pyro damage bonus or attack boost, but either way, it's really freaking strong. And like since Yoi gets crit as her bonus stat, like it's really easy to hit 60+% crit rate on her. Along with Kazuha, because I run her with Sayu Kazuha, the part. Oh, mosquito. I missed. I run Sayu, Kazuha, Yoi, and Toma, because I have C6 Toma, so every time he refreshes his shield, he also buffs attacks. So Yoi's the hyper carry on that party. And, like, oh, man, playing her in that party, they get the E, they get the CDR, because double Anemo, Toma as a tank, and shield support, Kazuha, pyro damage bonus buff. Oh, chef's kiss. Yoi's so strong. So strong. Like I said, I hit them 40k autos. Easy. Shut your mouth. You put, okay, I already read that. Yanagichi that whale. Munonikawa left the idiot blubbering in the bathroom and hurried out of the building. He hadn't heard the whole discussion, but he had a scoop on his hands anyway. This would be a tremendous score for Heaven Publishing, enough to let the company rebuild. He was certain of it. You just need C6 Yunjin instead, and C2 Jin. That's spicy. I have run that party before, and she is so fucking fast. Her attacks. Although, you know, I specifically run Sayu, Kazuha, Yoi, and Toma because I like that Inazuma party. You know me, I'm kind of racist in my Genshin parties. You know, I only have Inazuma parties, or only Mondstadt parties, or only Liyue parties. But, no, what a weird thing to say. But yeah, Jean is a perfectly good replacement for Sayu as well. Every time an event gives me attack speed buffs, I always pick Yui because it feels amazing. It's funny too. Yeah, I think there is an attack speed buff in like the current event, right? The story quest event. It's so fun. This mosquito's pissing me off. Have you benched Klee? Actually, funnily enough, I ran Klee in Abyss because I was doing my Mondstadt only party. So the two parties that I ran were Noelle, Albedo, Venti, and Klee, and Diona, Fischl, Eula, and Rosaria. But it's sad. Klee did fall off. She's just so much harder to play than other characters too, and honestly, like, you get less out of her for the same you have to do more to get the same thing out of her as opposed to playing someone like Hutao or Yoi. You have C6 Yunjin? I do indeed. I have C6 of a lot of the 4 stars. Okay, if enough to let the company rebuild. And if I'm the one saying it, it's gonna be true. As he ran along, Munonikawa tried to plan his next steps. First, he had to get back to the editing office. He'd explain the situation to the people from the loan company. Then he'd go find that paperwork for Osawa and have Chiaki check his copy. And then, after that... Okay, so he still had a lot of things he needed to do. He swatted himself on both cheeks to get himself psyched up. He's also kind of like covered in ash, dude. You gotta go take a shower. His phone rang. It was Chiaki. Mr. Mino, something terrible has happened. Chiaki's voice was a broken yelp. Calm down. Over on Koendori, this minivan exploded. Yeah, I'm well aware. Thanks to that, I've got a big scoop that... Chiaki cut him off. Just now, I got a call from Mr. Toyama's daughter, Hana. Uh-oh. This time, Munonikawa waited for her to finish. She had a sinking feeling. She said that Mr. Toyama was in there. It was a suicide. What? No way. Munonikawa's knees buckled. Tell me you're joking. No, I mean, the van explosion is all over the news, and Hana was in tears on the phone, and... Mr. Mino? Mr. Mino, are you still there? Toyama had... killed himself. I don't believe that. Yunikawa felt the energy drain from his body. Alright. That is the end of Yunikawa for this hour. Okay, now we only have 2 more people to get through. Kano and Osawa. Osawa's is probably going to be broken by Kano though. So we now have Kano unblocked because Achi said Hitomi and it's going to catch his attention. Harder to play for same payoff, that's right. Even 2 years later throwing bombs at people is still the most fun gameplay for me. It is fun to chuck bombs. Klee Abyss usage went up this patch because Chamber went with all the cryo units. Yeah, I can imagine like probably Klee, Yoi, and like Hutao, like auto-based characters, auto-based pyro characters. Probably Yanfei too. Like their usage probably went up. You know about the game called Quarry that's coming out in 2, 3, 4 days? You mentioned it before, or I think someone else did. It's made, it's made by the same people that made Until Dawn. I think you'd like that game a lot, if I remember. Yeah. I still haven't seen like a trailer for it, but I do know like what you guys are talking about. I would love to play it, but
it costs money.
Also, is it only on PS5? Let me look it up real quick. Oh no, it's on... Okay, it is gonna be on PS4. Maybe down the line at some point it would be really fun to play, but I'm definitely not gonna play it on release. Definitely not. Definitely not. But I'll probably watch people play it, maybe on YouTube. Okay. So Kano, suddenly a boom as loud as cannon fire shook the area. Something's wrong, Kano thought. That's no ordinary city noise. A column of black smoke rose up from between 2 nearby buildings. Passersby stopped and stared, gasping in alarm. Oh, there's Minorikawa in the back, holding people back. Then Kano saw flames. This hadn't been an accident. Someone had set off an explosion. The Shibuya precinct wasn't too far from here. Kano recalled the attempted bioterrorism attack on 2 years ago. Oh, okay. The attempted bioterrorism attack on Kasumigaseki. I still can't pronounce that. That incident had begun with the van exploding outside of the Tokyo MPD station. Already a large crowd of onlookers were gathering. Shouts rose up as they took in the scene. What's going on? What happened? The car is on fire! No shit. Kano called into HQ, then quickly slipped around into the back of the burning vehicle. It was a minivan. I was hoping to watch you play it so I wouldn't have to buy. It's on PC too. I mean, it's definitely on my backlog of games to play, but again, the problem is, like, right now, I was talking about this on Saturday as well when I finished Kingdom Hearts 2. I'm probably going to be playing more other Kingdom Hearts games that I have in that pack that I bought, so like the next Kingdom Hearts game, the Birth by Sleep, because like I don't want to buy other games right now. I kind of want to save some money, so just go through playing games I already own right now. I don't really want to buy anything new. At least not between now and probably the end of summer at the bare minimum. Because, like, I'm moving soon, so I really need to try and save money for that. But sorry, Elle, maybe by the end of the year, maybe. But in the next month or two, probably not.
Hello, hi Eon.
I heard Kingdom Hearts 2. I've been summoned by Kingdom Hearts. No, I was just telling Elle, because Elle was telling me about Quarry, the new game that's coming out in a couple of days. The one made by Quantic? Or Quantum Dreams? Whatever they're called. Until Dawn and Heavy Rain people. And I kind of want to play it, but I don't really want to. I do want to play it like that, I want. But I just can't. I probably won't play it now because I just really don't want to spend the money right now. Quantic made Detroit Heavy Rain. Supermassive. Oh, I thought they also did Until Dawn, because I do know Quantic made Detroit and Heavy Rain. Oh my god, that mosquito is pissing me the fuck off. I swear, the moment I see it land on a surface, I will throw my entire fucking body at it. It won't know what hit it. I won't just slap it with a hand. Even if it lands on the ceiling, I will literally go get a trampoline or something, bounce off that shit, and fling my body at the ceiling so that I smash that bug with my full body force. What? Okay. Peering at the flaming chassis? I don't know how to pronounce that. He could see that there was someone inside. Oh no. Could that be Hitomi? Once they had their hands on the antiviral, the criminals would have no further use for Hitomi Osawa. Already, the body had been charred to ash. At this point, it was hardly recognizable as human anymore. Oh. Shoot mosquito with gun match. This is true. You know what? I'm just gonna go buy a gun real quick. Minorikawa had a jump. It's here. To Kano, yeah. I just don't want it to bite me, dude. I get a lot of mosquito bites in general, and... we somehow always have, like, Life Virus is like, how do you always have bugs in your apartment? Like, and not like, it's not like we get, like, big spiders or, like, ant infestation. It's really just, like, we frequently have, like, a mosquito or, like, some fruit flies flying around. And it's because one of my flatmates does keep the window in the living room open, so I think bugs kind of just, like, find their way in from there. And it's, like, it's not that bad. It's not like, it's not like we need to call an exterminator or anything, and it's not as if, like, oh, man, we really gotta well, we should patch up the screen at the window either way, but it's like a couple of bugs fly in like frequently, and it's more of a nuisance than a problem. Several people were on the ground nearby, evidently injured by the explosion. A girl in a hoodie was crouched among them. Is that Miku? Miku Morita, doing her best to tend their injuries. Kano recognized her as the girl he talked to earlier during the traffic jam. Please, he announced. Get back. Let me handle this. The girl was visibly relieved. Help her, she said. She pointed to a figure lying on the sidewalk, a short distance from the burning minivan. Is that Kanan? It was a Middle Eastern girl. She appeared to be unconscious. I think she got hurt rescuing another girl about college age, the girl in the hoodie said. College age girl. That might be Hitomi. What happened to the girl she saved? Kano asked. The Good Samaritan looked around. Huh? Where'd she go? The rescuee had disappeared. This girl here, the girl in the hoodie, gestured toward the fallen girl. Oh, the girl in the hoodie gestured toward the fallen girl. I can't believe how fast she was. She spoke with a hint of awe. The way she moved to get that other girl, she was on a level way beyond mine. Kano took another look at the injured girl. Her figure looked rather delicate. It was hard to believe she was capable of great feats of athleticism. He started toward her, but Stanley stepped ahead of him. Tattoo. This game weird. It feels like it'd be better just as a normal TV show. Maybe, but it's kind of fun getting the bad ending. Some of the bad endings are really cursed, like the fact that we got sucked into the cat suit and into like a cat dimension. That was funny. Would you say it bugs you? Good one, Eon. I was trying to think of like a way to like quit back, you know, like oh yeah, it really irritates me, or like, oh yeah, it's like the bane of my existence, or it really bothers me. Like that's a bug pun, but I couldn't think of one. I'm not clever. His expression was unusually stern, even for him. Do you know her? Kano asked. The American didn't answer as he checked the girl's pulse and then her pupils. Hey Stanley, don't you have other things you should be doing? Don't you have other things you should be doing? Stanley snapped. Fine then, Kano decided to collect some eyewitness accounts. Stanley does know Kanan though, because Kanan told like Maria at some point that you can't trust Stanley. Patrol cars and ambulances arrived at the scene in a steady stream. Once the vehicle fire was under control, things gradually began to calm down. Several officers worked to cover the area around the burned minivan with a blue tarp. Kano got his questioning underway, starting by flashing his badge to a man near the front of the crowd. Excuse me, would you mind answering a few questions? The man puffed himself up. How about you answer a few questions for me? Was this an accident or an attack? We still don't know many details, Kano admitted. The man shoved his finger in Kano's face. Let me rephrase this for you. This is a major incident. Huh? I've been around the block a few times, and I know all your police PR lingo, and when you start talking about the details, that is 100% indicative of a major incident. Well, I sure picked the wrong guy to try and talk to. Stifling his frustration, Kano continued his questioning. Did you happen to notice anything unusual prior to the explosion? Unusual? Now that you mention it, I think I heard a cell phone ringtone. A ringtone? No, never mind. Forget that. There's no way the ringtone on someone's phone would be audible through all of that. The man was probably right, but somehow the idea nagged at Kano. He jotted down a note in his pad. Kano. It was Stanley. Perfect timing. Thank you for your cooperation, Kano told the man. Then he hurried on his way. Yeah, it sucks. You watch your mouth, L. Grrr. Your lucky life virus ain't here to fight you. Stanley stepped in close enough to whisper. Who was that guy? An eyewitness to the explosion, apparently. Does he have any info? He said he heard a cell phone ringtone at the time of the explosion. Not sure if that's significant, though. Stanley stood silently for a moment, thinking. What about that girl, Kano asked? Has she woken up? No. I'm going to drive her to the hospital. Huh? Why do that yourself? Just look around, Stanley said. He cast his eyes over, the scene. There were still many injured people lying on the roadside. It seemed that the authorities hadn't sent enough ambulances. But isn't your car back in Maruyamacho? Kano asked. Under the circumstances, I think it makes sense for me to go back for it, Stanley said coolly. He's trying to, like, arrest, Kanan or something. Besides, I have a few things I'd like to ask her. Kano was curious. You do? He asked. I was referring to the quip you could have used in response to the game. Oh, yeah, it sucks. I get it, because mosquitoes suck. Oh. Good one, L. Why everyone more clever than me and everyone understands the joke? Or understands what... I don't understand what we're talking about half the time. Stanley's cell rang. Yes, Stanley answered the phone in English. As he listened, his demeanor changed. The blood drained from his face, and his hand began to tremble slightly as it gripped the phone. Kano had never seen him this shaken up. You got it, Stanley said at last. He hung up the phone and let out a sigh. What is it? Kano asked. Stanley headed into an alley without responding. Kano hurried after him. Once they were out of earshot of the crowd, Stanley finally spoke. That call right now was from Gordon, my superior. He broke off there and for a long while was silent. He appeared to be struggling with some strong emotion. Kano was getting impatient. What is it? If you're going to tell me something, then tell me. Kano decided not to press. If it's that difficult to talk about, you don't have to. We're going to press. Kano was getting impatient. What is it? If you're going to tell me something, then tell me. All right, Stanley said at last. I can trust you with this. Oh, I never thought I'd hear you say you trust me, Kano teased. But Stanley's expression remained dead serious. We were contacted on our end by the mastermind of this plot. Those international criminals you mentioned? Correct. Roughly 8 hours ago. They infected Maria Osawa with the UA virus. Then they let her loose somewhere in Shibuya. We gotta pick up since Samp's not here. I know, right? I like how it's taking all of our brains to fill Samp's role right now. I've been watching a lot of this anime called Spy X Family. I think you'd like it a lot. It's all over my feed, honestly, like the little kid with the pink hair. I know Kevin told me that he's been watching it, and I don't really know what it's about, but I can't say if I'd like or dislike it, because again, I don't know what it's about. I've never seen it, but oh, God, this all does, you know, not point back, but like generally I don't really watch a lot of anime. I don't watch a lot of TV anymore these days. Honestly, I consume very little media these days. Like, Yeah. I'm turning into a boomer. Spy X Family is great. You'll like it a lot. I'm 98% sure. Can I watch it on Netflix? I might give it a shot. There's also like a manga, right? It's actually originally based off of manga, no? Hold on. By UA you mean... Kano thought back to his earlier conversation with Stanley. These criminals were trying to get their hands on a new drug, an antiviral drug developed by Kenji Osawa that has been shown to be effective against the UA virus. Stanley hesitated before continuing. This is a killer virus with 100% mortality rate once it takes hold. Kenji Osawa's antivirals are only means of combating it. A mortality rate of 100%? It has an incubation period of 12 hours. In another 4 hours, Miss Maria Osawa will go symptomatic. After that, she'll begin spreading the virus to the city. It's capable of airborne transmission? Stanley nodded. If we don't administer Kenji Osawa's antiviral before she develops symptoms... Yes? Kano's voice was trembling now. Stanley spoke with complete certainty. Everyone in Shibuya is going to die. Well, then we need to find Maria Osawa and get the antiviral to her as soon as possible, Kano said, panicking. Stanley remained cool. Just calm. Oh, wait, Maria has the UA virus in her. Hitomi has the antiviral inside her. Right, I got them mixed up. Just calm down. There's more stories to... Stanley was interrupted by a strange sound from the upper floors of a nearby building. Unsure of what it was, the two men hurriedly relocated. Based on a manga, it's not on Netflix. Where can I watch it? I also tend to not watch things that are too much of a hassle to watch these days. As in, like, oh, I gotta, like, use other weird websites, sus-ass websites. If it's not on Netflix, it's not on Prime, it's not on Disney, I'm just like, yeah, no, I'm a pass. Or not on YouTube. Is it on YouTube, I guess? They paused when they came to a vacant lot. The place was deserted, no need to worry about being overheard here. You said there was more to the story? Kano prompted. The antiviral in question is stored in Kenji Osawa's laboratory. The lab is protected by a sophisticated security system, and apparently the storage area where the drug is kept requires fingerprint authentication from both Osawa and Tanaka. What? But Tanaka... Kano couldn't help but gasp. Tanaka was currently a fugitive, the prime suspect in the kidnapping case. There was no chance of getting any fingerprint authorization from him at this stage. Is there any other way to get in? Kano asked. The door can also be unlocked via password in place of the fingerprint scanner, but we need to know what Tanaka chose for his password. No. In any event, it's essential that we track down and secure Maria. But... He went on, his voice grave. Even if we get Maria to safety, the mastermind is now in possession of the UA virus. If they wanted to, they can unleash a bioterrorist attack on Shibuya at any time. To put it bluntly, the lives of every man, woman, and child in this city are in their hands. Oops. Kano felt a pulse of fear deep enough to give him vertigo. Fair enough. He slowly tilted his head back and gazed at the sky, vast and blue as always. There had been tens of thousands of people in Shibuya right now. Numi and Shizuo were among them, and they might be all dead within a day. It felt so unreal. Kano's mind almost couldn't process it. With an effort of will, he shook himself out of his daze. Now he has no time to waver. We have to try, he said. In the next 4 hours, we need to find Maria Osawa and figure out a way to stop this mastermind and the UA virus. The words were as much for himself as they were for his companion. Let's do this, Stanley. We might not always see eye to eye, but together I feel like you and I can find a way. But Stanley averted his gaze. My job here is simply to apprehend the mastermind. Kano felt a resurgence of his earlier anger at Stanley. Once again, he was putting his duties above human life. Not on YouTube. Crunchyroll? It's probably on Crunchyroll, but if you don't want to pay money, I'd use gogoanime.nl. Alright. I shall think about it. Gosh. There's so much, like, I definitely do want to watch it, because I've heard it is really good, and, like, I feel like I kind of understand some parts of it now, just because of, like, memes. But, oh man, dudes, I just have no time or attention span these days to read. It'd be like that. I'm sorry, Stanley's voice was a quiet mutter. You should get away from Shibuya as soon as possible, Kano. Kano hadn't imagined that the American would be worried for him. I appreciate the warning, he said, but I'm seeing this through the end. Oh, I thought I got the bitch. This isn't just the sort of thing you can solve with an effort of willpower. Even so, giving up isn't the Japanese detective way. Stanley let out a nasal chuckle. Back to that again, are we? Same to you, Kano managed a tiny chuckle of his own. Listen, Stanley went on after a moment. This is just between you and me. The mastermind behind this kidnapping case is an arms dealer who goes by the name Alfred. Alfred? The attempted bioterrorist attack on Kasumi Gaseki, a hotel bombing in Chicago, Alfred had a hand in all of them. What do you know about this criminal? Kano asked. Stanley's expression grew even darker. Alfred's signature is extremely meticulous planning, but I don't mean meticulous in the way that you or I might normally think of it. Their plans are perfectly imperfect. Do you get what I mean? Kano shook his head. Alfred deliberately engineers accidents to make things complicated and unpredictable. It's difficult to get a good grasp of what's going on when the situation seems to be falling apart. People tend to not consider that coincidental mishap might be anything but. In the end, they don't even realize they were playing right into the mastermind's hands all along. Kano could hear the intensity of Stanley's voice. That was a satisfying smack. My hands hurt. It'd be even more satisfying if I killed the fucker! Stupid bug. I'm afraid that's all I can say. Stanley held out his right hand. See you around, Kano, if we're still alive. If we're still alive. Kano let that sink in for a moment. Now I'll shake your hand after we finish this case. With a slight smile, Stanley withdrew his hand. The two bumped fists instead. Bruh. Alright, we'll meet again, Kano. I'm sure of it. Okay, to be continued. No sooner had Stanley departed than Kuze's voice came over the wireless. Attention all units. As of now, further investigation on the kidnapping case is suspended. The director's voice sounded strangely cold. I repeat, as of now, further investigation on the kidnapping case is suspended. Wait, hold on. Sir, Kano shouted. What is it, Kano? Could you let us know why? We've received information that Maria Osawa has been infected with an unknown virus and has been released to somewhere in Shibuya. That matched up with what Stanley had said earlier. An anti-bioterrorism security force will probably be deployed in Shibuya. This is no longer a simple kidnapping case. Our part in this is finished. No, it's not. We haven't managed to resolve anything. Kano, I assure you everyone else feels the same as you do. Kuze's voice had a cautionary tone. They're still performing the autopsy on the body found in the blue minivan that exploded. I'll let you know once we have a positive ID. Kuze out. Director! But the line had already gone dead. Left at a loss, Kano gazed out at the cityscape. The sight of the bomb vehicle had calmed down briefly, but now the news networks had been reporting the herds of onlookers was growing. There was also a sizable crowd gathered outside of a large home electronics store. The large LCD televisions on display were showing a press conference being held by the governor of Tokyo. Kano might learn something new about the case. He decided to watch the broadcast. Kano might learn something new about the case. He decided to watch the broadcast. Probably working closely with the administration, we are keeping a careful eye on the situation as it develops. The governor's expression was solemn as he spoke. The moment he finished his statement, the reporters bombarded him with questions. This seems similar to the bioterrorist attack on I always say Kasumigaseki 2 years ago. Is there any possible connection? What countermeasures do we have in the event that Shibuya is the target of bioterrorism? The governor was visibly disconcerted. If it does turn out to be a bioterrorist attack, we will establish emergency shelters with a large-scale quarantine station at Yoyogi Park. However, there are still many details that remain unknown. The politician was clearly struggling to maintain his composure. Can you comment on the rumors we're hearing that Shibuya might be blockaded off? Don't be ridiculous, the governor barked. What outlet are you with? Are you trying to start a panic when we don't even know all the details? Besides, it wouldn't even be possible to blockade the whole of Shibuya. The press conference continued. The governor and the reporters locked into a belligerent back and forth. Kana left the electronics store and headed to the cafe where Numi and Shizuo were waiting. He had to tell them both to get far away from Shibuya. The cafe was quiet when Kano arrived. Shizuo was sitting alone. Kano scanned the establishment, but he didn't see a doobie anywhere. One of the staff greeted him. Welcome. Just one, sir? No, I'm meeting someone, actually. Of course, sir. The hostess smiled and went on her way. Shizuo was glaring at him. Kano walked over to him and bowed deeply. It's a pleasure to meet you, sir. I'm Shinya Kano. You look like even more of a knuckle-dragger than I thought. Shizuo maintained his appraising stare. Numi has something she needed to do, so she stepped away for a while, he said after a long moment. Kano sat down across from him. There was a laptop computer open on the table. Okay. What are you using the computer for? Kano asked. I'm on the internet. Shizuo's voice was low and gruff. This cafe has an internet connection? May as well start with a little small talk. So what? Again, Shizuo glared at Kano. The words wouldn't come out. No, actually, this is no time to be making idle chit-chat. If they got infected with the virus, Numi and Shizuo might die. Look, please, you need to leave Shibuya right away. Shizuo's face contorted with confusion. What are you talking about? Why? Kano wasn't sure if he should tell them the truth or not. He was strictly prohibited from discussing a case with anyone outside the department. As a former policeman himself, Shizuo ought to understand full well the secrecy and investigation required. But it wasn't like he'd just up and leave town without a good reason. Please listen, Kano said. Let's be honest. Listen, there's a risk of... What's that? Oh no, and he's gonna shout, a what attack? I mean, the virus... Shizuo pounded his fist on the table. Spit it out! Kano just couldn't say it. It didn't matter who he was talking to. He couldn't make himself leak the details of an ongoing investigation. Besides, there was no guarantee a bioterrorist attack would actually happen. If they could just find and secure Maria Osawa before she went symptomatic. Does this have something to do with the case you're working? Huh? You telling me to leave Shibuya, does that have something to do with your case? Yes, Kano admitted. So why don't you run off with Dumi then? Shizuo's tone was frank. Well, I mean... When Kano didn't have an answer handy, Shizuo let out a heavy sigh. Is your work important to you? He asked. Kano hesitated. Is it more important than Dumi? Well... Again, Shizuo cut off as he waffled over how to answer. Me, I used to put my work before my family. There was no question in my mind that combating society's ills and solving cases was worth any price. And because of that, I did some pretty reckless things. Almost wound up dead more than once. Shizuo paused, a forlorn look in his eyes. My wife did nothing but worry about me, so much that I didn't realize she'd worried herself sick. I was so caught up with my work that I wasn't even there for her when she finally passed away. It was also very absurd of me. The waitress came by and set Kano's iced coffee on the table. It sat there untouched until Shizuo looked at it pointedly. With a tiny nod, Kano brought the cup to his lips. The bittersweet liquid was a balm to his parched throat. I told Dumi the same story, Shizuo continued. But I didn't tell her how absurd it was. I told her that her father only did what he had to do. He took a sip from his glass. Numi, she's very much like her mother used to be. Their personalities are almost identical, and I don't want her to suffer the same way my wife did. Shizuo's fist clenched in his lap. What was it that made you want to become a detective in the first place? Well, at first I got the job because I thought it would make Numi happy. And then I guess also because I thought it'd make you like me, sir. It was the truth, but Shizuo simply chuckled. If your goal is to get me to like you, you may as well give up now, XD. I'm sorry, sir, Kano said. I can't do that. Are you this stubborn around Numi? Shizuo grumbled. I love your daughter, sir. I want to keep her safe, to make her happy. And why is that? Whenever I think about her, I just feel so amazing. I'm sure that you or anyone can empathize with that. Everyone has someone they want to protect who makes them feel that good. It's an admirable thing, wanting to be a detective and protect the happiness of people. But that doesn't mean you need to ignore your own happiness in the process. What you say may be true, sir. Earlier today, my partner was stabbed. And today's his wife's birthday. Shizuo arched his brow. Is he going to make it? I'm not sure yet. Last I knew, he was in critical condition. This is why I keep saying that the life of a detective is... Shizuo's words trailed off into a lamenting murmur. Even so, Kano was unmoved. Dictum number 1. Never lose sight of what you're supposed to protect. Ever. What's that? Something that a senior detective I admire very much said. It's the fundamental guiding principle I've stuck to as a detective, but I was wrong about the real meaning behind it. My partner was stabbed. There are people I want to rescue. So much has happened, and now I finally understand what those words mean. When you see someone in trouble, you help them. That's not something a good detective does. That's something a good person does. Kano took a good long look at Shizuo's face. He had surprised himself, finding the words to speak his feelings so clearly, and he wondered what effect it had had on the older man. I'm sure that from your perspective as my future father-in-law, my being a detective means that I'm putting my life on the line. But that's not entirely true. I can only be myself. This is the kind of person I am. I care about helping people, even if I were a baker, or a brewer, or a bookseller. I'd still act the same way. You're being ridiculous. A baker and detective don't assume anywhere near the same risks. Suppose that's true. Kano fussed with his hair sheepishly. Huh. Shizuo grumbled. I think I see what kind of man you are now. He sounded oddly defeated. Which is why now is no time to just futz around. Kano sat up straighter at Shizuo's weighty tone. A detective needs more than just passion. A detective can't solve all of his problems with sheer determination alone. But at the same time, he needs more than just the ability to coldly assess a situation. He needs the conviction to stick to a case when it might otherwise seem prudent to give up. There was something new in Shizuo's expression now, and a gleam in his eyes that hadn't been there before. Kano almost felt like he was being sermonized by a senior officer. You got that? You need a cool mind but a fiery spirit. A detective without both of those is worth nothing. Do you mind if I write that down in my notebook here? Look, Shizuo said, sounding suddenly embarrassed. Aren't you in a hurry? Don't you have to get back to your case? Ah, yes, and sir, please, I need you and your daughter to leave Shibuya right away. I hear you. Kano conjured up Numi's face in his mind. There was a chance he might never see her again. He forced the thought away as best he could. By the way, if I may ask, Shizuo said, what was it about Numi that made you fall in love with her? What? Where's this coming from all of a sudden? Was it her looks? No, it wasn't just that. Kano found himself tongue-tied again. I mean, she is pretty cute, even if this is my own daughter I'm talking about. That's cursed. Shizuo shocked him by grinning from ear to ear. Well, yes. Actually, no, it's not cursed. I don't know why. It's normal to say your daughter's cute. As long as it's not in a creepy way, you know what I'm saying? Well, yeah, sure she is, Kano replied, but it's just more than that. She's also very sweet and kind-hearted. She is, isn't she? She really is. For the first time, Kano and Shizuo smiled at one another. You're a man who lets his emotion show on his face, Shizuo said, and for a detective, that's actually not so bad. Thank you, sir, Kano said. He bowed to Shizuo as he stood up from his seat. Never lose sight of what you're supposed to protect, huh? I like that. Wise words indeed. Kano turned to look back and then bowed deeply to Shizuo one last time. The ability to coldly assess a situation. Kano knew what he needed to do. There was one thing that was nagging him. No matter how hard he thought about it, it still didn't add up. Why would Tateno let Al-Karawan go free? He needed to get back to the precinct and get the truth from Al-Karawan firsthand. As he walked along, he considered what he did know about the facts of the case. Just what sort of plan had Alfred put into motion here? It seemed that Tanaka and Osawa held the keys to understanding. There had been a relay handoffs of the phony attaché case, a relay that Tanaka had been complicit in. Then there was Hitomi missing, carrying the antiviral. Osawa had confirmed that himself. Okay, we're not going to do the jump though, we're just going to finish Kano's story first. Kano was starting to form a vague picture of what Alfred was up to. If the mastermind's goal was to acquire the antiviral, then obtaining the cooperation of Osawa and Tanaka was vital to that plan. After all, their fingerprint verification was required to physically access the drug. In order to overcome that hurdle, Alfred had presumably managed to win over Tanaka somehow, and had then kidnapped Maria Osawa to provide leverage against her father. No doubt that was how they'd gotten Hitomi to take the antiviral with her to Hachiko. While the police were distracted by following the attaché case, Alfred would then take the antiviral from Hitomi. That was the general plan, as far as Kano could surmise. Just then a call from Kuze came in over the walkie. We've identified the body found inside the blown-up minivan. Kano's hand tingled as it gripped the wireless. Mamoru Tanaka, male, 40 years old. An employee of Okoshi Pharmaceutical. Positive ID was obtained from the subject's personal belongings. What? Kano gasped. If Tanaka was dead, it would now be almost impossible to access the antiviral drug in the laboratory. At this point, the only antiviral they had any chance of obtaining was whatever Hitomi was carrying. Kano thought back to what Stanley had said earlier. Even if we get Maria to safety, the mastermind is in the possession of the UA virus. If they want to, they can unleash a bioterrorist attack on Shibuya at any time. To put it bluntly, the lives of every man, woman, and child in the city are in their hands. No. A chill ran down Kano's spine. If someone did release the UA virus, there'd be no way to stop it from spreading. If Alfred really was planning a bioterror attack, Shibuya would well and truly become a city of the dead. He couldn't help but feel that the whole department was playing right into Alfred's hands. Kano staggered, physically stricken by the realization of just how terrifying a foe they were up against. Interesting. I feel like that's supposed to be a really major twist that it's Tateno that's dead. I mean, it's obviously not a suicide, it's a murder. I don't know, maybe Tateno wasn't gonna get his cut in what he wanted in the end, or like he was threatening ratting them or something for more leverage. Just looking for the Osawa Here it is. Okay, we're about to finish the last bit of this hour, the last 10 minutes of 3 to 4. Before the news was shared with the Osawas, the members of the investigation team quietly briefed Detective Kajiwara. Osawa and I sat on the sofa on the far side of the room, watching. They could see Kajiwara go pale. He wiped the sweat from his forehead with a handkerchief several times. Bad news, Osawa thought. Mr. Osawa, ma'am. Kajiwara shuffled his way over to them at last. We've just gotten word from the headquarters. Yep. Right now, the task force is in an uproar after a change in direction from the higher-ups. The detectives on the scene... Yep. He hesitated ominously. Osawa braced himself. Please, let's hear it. It would seem that your daughter Maria is safe. What? Osawa felt an unexpected surge of relief. You mean it? The case has been solved, added I. For a moment, they almost sounded like a happily married couple. It was only the stern look on Kajiwara's face that gave them a pause. However, as of yet, we do not have her in custody. I'm not sure I understand, Osawa said. You know she's alive, but you don't have her. How? Deep furrows appeared in Kajiwara's forehead. Sorry, sir. The information we've received from up top is complicated. We've confirmed that she was able to escape confinement. It's just... The detective gave every appearance of holding something back. If there's something you need to tell us, then just say it, Osawa told him. It would seem that Maria has been infected with a virus. Infected? Osawa felt as if a taloned claw had just clutched his heart. It's not one I've ever heard of before, but apparently it's called the UA virus. Osawa's vision went dark. He felt as if he'd plunged into a black void of despair. Darling? I asked raspily. She didn't need to put her fears into words. Osawa felt them just as plainly as his own gut. You're an expert on virology, aren't you, Mr. Osawa? Kajiwara asked. Are you familiar with the UA virus? Osawa held up a hand to forestall further questions. There was no time for that. How many hours ago was she infected, he had demanded. I wasn't told that much. Is it important? Depending on when Maria was affected, we may or may not still... Osawa trailed off abruptly as the reality of the situation struck home. This wasn't the same as when Hitomi had been affected. Right now, there was no way of getting Tanaka's cooperation, which meant that there was no way of accessing the antiviral storage. In other words, getting the cure to Maria would be impossible. Osawa's head swam. Detective Kajiwara, I beg of you. Your people need to catch Tanaka as soon as possible. I can't share the details, but if you don't, something terrible is going to happen. Just then, Kajiwara's cell phone rang. He picked up quickly. What did you say? The detective's shout shattered the anxious silence that had fallen. I shuddered visibly at the outburst. Kajiwara nodded sharply, still listening, more creases formed in his forehead. Understood. I'll let them know. He hung up. All eyes were on him. That was headquarters. Osawa swallowed the lump in his throat. He could feel himself quaking all over. A minivan we believe belonged to the syndicate exploded near Jinnan in Shibuya. A body was found amongst the burning wreckage of the vehicle. Who was it? Osawa interjected. Tell me. Please don't let it be Maria. Please don't let it be Hitomi. Kajiwara took a breath before speaking. We've conclusively identified the remains as Mr. Tanaka's. I's gotta be, like, in love with this dude. He must have been her past boyfriend. The cry was visceral, almost bird-like. Osawa looked around in surprise. It was I. It's not true! You're lying! Her shrill screams reverberated through the room. Osawa felt like he wanted to scream too. With Tanaka dead, there was no way to get the antiviral. Or maybe she's just screaming because, right, can't get the antiviral, which meant Maria was going to die. Ooh, spicy. Okay. That's the end of hour 3 to 4. That's 3 to 4, right? I think it was 3 to 4. Got an achievement. Alright! Let's see. Let's start with Maria. Why? I don't really know. I just like Maria. Maria's one of my... Maria, like Achi, are characters like that I enjoy playing more in this game. I'm pretty neutral about Kano, like positive leaning, but neutral about Kano. I don't like Osawa's chapters, and I don't like Minonikawa's chapters. I mean, their stories are good, but I just don't like them as much as characters specifically. Their chapters are good, but the characters, eh. Not my type of character. I walk counter to the throng of people heading towards the scene of the explosion. There's a gun pressed against my back, leaving me no choice but to continue marching forward. I don't have time for this right now. Pff, imagine just being like, yeah, I don't have time to be held at gunpoint. There's something I need to do. My frantic sense of urgency grows and grows. Kanan. The only clue I have is that name. My other hazy snippets that have surfaced in my memory provide no answers. Please just tell me, Emmeror. Do you know who I am? When the man with the cane doesn't answer, I stop in my tracks. I'm going to start shouting, I warn him. If you want to find out who you are, then do as I say. The barrel of the gun jabs more forcefully into my back. Once we find Hitomi Osawa, you'll remember, whether you like it or not. Guess I have no choice but to keep moving. Are your memories really that precious to you? The man mutters as we start to move again. I'm taken aback by the question. Well, yes. I mean, isn't that pretty normal? There's a bit of a pause before he replies, his voice sad and distant. You're not going to remember just the good times, you know? What do you mean? I mean that sad and painful memories are going to resurface too. I guess I hadn't really thought about that. But still, whatever kind of memories they are, they're all a part of me. I'm the person I am now because of the sorrow and pain too. I want to remember. I want to remember who I am. The gunman directs me dispassionately along a series of quiet streets. Right here. I stop at his words. In front of us is an old multi-tenant office building. We ride the elevator to the 8th floor, then use the emergency exit to take the stairs up to the rooftop. A cool breeze blows across my cheek. Sit down there. I do as he says, settling myself on the outdoor air conditioning unit. The man lowers his gun, but keeps it in hand. We'll wait here for a bit. For how long? He lets out a rueful chuckle. Guess we'll have to wait and see. I decide there's no point in trying to fight with him. For now I have to hope he's telling the truth and whatever's coming will help me get my memories back. If I don't know my past, how can I know what to do about this Kanan stuff, or anything else? I stare up at the sky as I wait for whatever the assassin is waiting for. The silence between us is suffocating. Finally, I can't take it any longer. Okay, so I think this is yours. I hold out the notebook I picked up earlier. The man's surprise is played on his face. Where'd you get that? I saw the picture inside. He snatches the book out of my hand. Then he flips through it, looking sad. I'm afraid that another agonizing silence is about to descend when he speaks at last. This is a picture of me and my childhood friends. His voice is low and quiet. We were inseparable back then when we were kids. The boy here, he liked to fiddle with machines, always doing things like taking apart radios and whatnot and putting them back together. He was a total bookworm too, so he always got picked on a lot, but I was always there to save him from the bullies. All of a sudden, the guy's in a sharing mood, I guess. I can feel his aura of murderous rage starting to abate. The girl here is the same age as us, but she felt more like a big sister, is the nerd Tanaka. Whatever stupid things my other friends and I got up to, she was always willing to laugh it off. Let's ask her name. So what was her name? I asked, curious to know more. Kotone. We dated when we were in high school. Wow. But I get the impression that the picture But I get the impression from that picture that the other boy must have liked Kotone too, right? The gunman's eyes widened. You're very astute. Why does she look like Hitomi and Maria? Is that their mom, maybe? Kotone is their mom? Like their birth mother, not Ai. Ai is their stepmother. The gunman's eyes went wide. You're very astute. Call it a woman's intuition, I say proudly. Then I asked the obvious follow-up. So what happened to you two? I dumped her. The man carefully slips the notebook back into his jacket. Oh, into the pocket inside his jacket. How come, I ask. I felt it was for the best. He lets out a little chuckle, then stands up and brushes the dust off his pants. He looks strangely lonely. What? Wow, that was the fastest fucking keep out of all time. Oh my god, lol. Okay. It feels somewhat like Osawa could break it, so let's play Osawa's story. I don't want to know how people feel. All I want to know is what viruses feel. I prefer viruses, because they make no move to encroach on me from the other side of my microscope. They leave me free, to let my thoughts wander as I wish. And while it may be true to say I understand viruses, I have never been able to understand my fellow humans. I don't know them. I don't know a single fundamental thing about them. With Tanaka dead, trying to use the backup passwords for the fingerprint scanner had become a hopeless endeavor. The only remaining means of gaining entry to the storage area was to issue an emergency unlock request for the electronic lock manufacturer, and in order to do that they needed the approval from 6 members of the board of directors. Returning to his study, Osawa called Makino's personal cell phone. What is it? Makino said gruffly as soon as he picked up. Osawa informed him of the situation, including Tanaka's death, and the fact that Maria was infected. The news left Makino at a loss for words. Please, Osawa begged. You need to hold an emergency board meeting. Makino was silent for a few moments. I'm afraid I can't do that. Why not? Why not? Are you just gonna sit by and let my daughter die? Osawa raged. And not just her, if Mariko's symptomatic. If Mariko's symptomatic. That was still only an if, but Osawa was reluctant to put his fears into words. If she goes symptomatic, the UA virus will sweep through all of Tokyo. I realized that, Makino replied, but one of the board members is overseas on business. Holding a meeting is impossible. Despite the gravity of the situation, he sounded astoundingly nonchalant. Osawa couldn't back down now. There must be some other option, like a web conference or something. That doesn't help if we can't get, we can't get in touch with him. Makino huffed. He went missing a few days ago in the middle of his business trip. Is that the guy with the cane? The head of the Okoshi Pharmaceuticals New York branch has been missing since April 25th, 9 p.m. local time. There have been no demands for a ransom, and so the New York Police Department is investigating the possibility of some other form of foul play. Osawa was almost too appalled to be angry. That's the most ridiculous lie I've ever heard. Would you like me to speak to my on-site contact if you don't believe? Would you like to speak to my on-site contact if you don't believe me? This was like arguing with a child. If Makino was deliberately working against him, he'd never know if this disappearance was real or not. In that case, can you please appoint a representative in his stead? Osawa pleaded. Selecting a representative is a complicated process. Even if we started right now, it would take until sometime tomorrow afternoon to complete. Tomorrow afternoon. By then, it would be too late for any of this to matter. So you can't see how absurd the things you're saying are? What would you have me do? Makino barked. These are the realities of corporate politics. I understand, sir. You will do nothing for my daughter. That's what you're saying. That's not what I'm saying, Makino replied. Look, I'll see what I can do to appoint a representative more quickly. He hung up. His tone had suggested that waiting for an appointee wouldn't be a terribly hopeful prospect. I have no more allies, Osawa thought. All I have left now are foes. He couldn't count on anyone anymore. Osawa was just going to have to get the antivirals himself. Still, he'd just have to take Makino at his word. Right now, that was his only course of action. Nah, we're going rogue, baby. He couldn't count on anyone anymore. Osawa was just going to have to get the antiviral by himself. Tanaka might be dead, but there still must be some way to get that lock open. Taking extra care to avoid the notice of the detectives, Osawa snuck out of the house and headed for the garage. Again? Damn, a lot of keepouts. Okay, let's hit up Achi's story, I guess. Achi could hear an ambulance and police sirens wailing on the main road. He looked down and Hitomi slumped on a park bench beside him. "You're sure you're not hurt?" he asked quietly, offering her a bottle of water. "I'm okay, Hitomi. I'm okay." Hitomi took a sip of water from the bottle. "Thanks. I think I've managed to calm down some." Some of the color had finally returned to her face. So, Achi began hesitantly. Inside that minivan. Maria wasn't in there. There was relief in her voice, but also a note of pathos. I got a look through the windshield, but there was a man laid out. There was a man laid out in the back seat, but nobody else. The dark cloud lifted from Achi's face. "So it wasn't your sister?" "No, I didn't see his face, just that he was wearing a business suit." Achi felt the tension ebbing from his body. "That's good then. It wasn't her." I'd been worried. It was a shame about the poor devil who had been killed, though. Who was it and why had he been there? "It's your enemy, Tanaka." "So I guess now we're out of leads," Hitomi murmured. She hung her head. "We could try the surveillance center again for now," Achi said. "It'll probably give us better odds of finding your sister than just walking around." "I guess you're right. Shall we then?" Hold on. Achi had a sudden flash of inspiration. "My house is a lot closer from here. Maybe I should ask my dad if we can check the cameras from home." "You can do that?" "We have the same system at our house. I'm sure my dad will let us use them." The two got up and headed for Endo Electronics. Achi decided to let his father know they were coming. He turned on his phone as they walked along. He'd had it off for a while, so he first checked his voicemail. There was one message. Wondering who might have called, he played it back. "Is this Achi Endo's personal cell phone? This is Dr. Saiki from Shibuya Central Hospital." No. Achi's expression stiffened. He pressed the cell phone closer to his ear. "There's been a sudden change in Suzune's condition. I tried calling your home as well, but got no answer." Achi felt the edges of his vision growing dim. "That's your brother. It'd be good if you can come to the hospital as soon as possible. It's..." "Achi?" Hitomi's voice was full of concern. "Sorry, I just gotta make a call here." Fingers trembling, Achi dialed his house. The phone rang several times before switching over to the answering machine. "Damn it, where the hell are you, Dad?" "What's wrong?" Hitomi asked. "It's Suzune. It sounds like things have gotten pretty bad." Well, then we need to get to the hospital right away," Hitomi said. She sounded as anxious as Achi was. "We can't go yet," Achi shook his head quietly. "First we have to save your sister." Hitomi bristled angrily at that. "What are you talking about?" She grabbed Achi by the arm and shook him. "Right now you need to be thinking about your sister." "I can't. I made a promise to Suzune. A Promise to help people and see things through the end when something important is on the line. He struggled to get the words out. If I break that promise, then I really am no good to her. But Hitomi didn't look like she was going to back down. Boy, get back here! A threatening shout rung out from nearby. Achi looked around, startled, and saw a boy about high school age bolting out from behind a building on a side street. Several slightly older young men were hot on his heels. Achi knew their faces all too well. They were all members of SOS. They caught their quarry just before he could make it out onto the main road. Heh, gotcha, newbie. So the kid they were after must have been a member too. Let me go! Oh, we'll let you go, alright. After you pay up. One of the young men snatched the boy by the collar and shoved him against the wall of a nearby building. Ouch! The boy's face scrunched up. What are you talking about? Playing dumb, huh? Interjected one of the onlookers. We told you that all members have to pay monthly dues, yeah? The privilege of getting to call yourself SOS don't come free, after all. Achi felt his blood boil. SOS was trying to pull a shakedown on this new kid under the guise of calling it dues. It would have been unthinkable for them to do something like this back when Achi was running the show. Hey, he barked. Let the kid go. He marched toward the group. Say what now? They turned to look, their faces immediately going pale. Oh, hey, Achi. Let him go. Achi focused his glare on the fellow holding the kid until he released his grip. You guys always go around doing stuff like this? None of the gang members answered. They merely turned their gazes glumly to the ground. Hey, Achi turned to the younger boy. Since when have they been doing this? But of course he realized there was no way the newbie would be able to tell him. Never mind, you can go. Come here, you little fuck. Ah, I fucking missed the mosquito again. Sag. Never mind, you can go. Achi gestured toward the main road. The boy was quick to run off. Achi waited until the boy was gone before turning back to the others. Does Susumu know you're going around collecting dues like this? He asked. Man, we don't gotta tell you that. One of them muttered. Not since you deserted. What'd you just say? Achi leaned in close, getting right in the guy's face. He was met with a defiant sneer. This ain't the old SOS anymore. Not the old SOS? Achi thought back to the other gang member he'd run into earlier with the malicious gleam in his eyes. That guy. Pretty sure he said his name was Kiryu? Back when Achi had been with SOS, he'd never let a guy like that get away with acting all high and mighty. Suddenly, Achi heard a voice from behind him. Well, if it ain't our legendary founder. Wabap! An instant later, he took a hard blow to the side of the head. Heh, I was just out looking for some small fry, but looks like I landed me a big one. Achi's head swam, his vision fading in and out. Before he had a chance to recover, something smashed into his knee. Oh my god, what? He lay crumpled on the ground, unable to retaliate as kicks and punches rained down on him. Even after Achi could no longer move, the beating didn't stop. His ruptured eardrums could barely make out the sound of Hitomi screaming. Oh my god, we have to... How do we correct this bad end from Achi? Hitomi. Run. This final plea silenced before it reached his lips. Achi felt his consciousness battered away. Wow, what the fuck? Holy. Kiryu turned up out of nowhere and gave Achi a beatdown with a piece of timber. But just before he attacked Achi, Kiryu had run into someone else. That person said something that changed what Kiryu did. The individual in question needs to say something different to ensure Kiryu doesn't go to Dogonzaka while Achi and Hitomi are there. It's probably Minorikawa, honestly. Minorikawa's the only one that's in that area and would have the time to, like, have that conversation. Okay, we'll play until we get bad end or keep out on Minorikawa, and then I'm gonna call it a day, because I'm really tired. I've not been getting enough sleep lately, so I would like to bed it early today. Minori needed to get back to the editing office right away, but despite the urgency, he barely stumbled along. He chillin'. He was swaying on his feet, only half aware of where he was even going. Nah, no, this is all some sick joke. He just couldn't accept that Toyama was dead. He let out a lifeless sigh, a cynical smile crept to his face. The man always did insist on having his own way, but killing himself. Back when he was still a novice reporter, Minori had written a piece about a middle school girl who'd committed suicide. The school had made a statement denying that bullying had been a factor, and so most of the media had reported that she'd suffered a nervous breakdown over entrance exams. But something about the case had kept nagging at him. Had her death really been a suicide? The more people he interviewed about the incident, the more his doubts grew. The city news editor, however, would not allow him to conduct a follow-up investigation, and the reason why was simple. This was the sort of thing that happened every day. They couldn't waste time on a case that was already on the books. It was more important for a reporter to find news stories than squander time engrossed in a case that was old news. Munikawa understood the editor's decision well enough, but that didn't mean he had to like it. He had been sulking up on the roof, slowly nursing a cigarette, when the paper's local news copy editor, Toyama, happened to drop by. Bruh. Did they say no to the follow-up interviews? Toyama asked. About that girl's suicide? Yeah. Munikawa expelled a plume of his smoke along with a sigh. Nothing tasted quite as bad as a cigarette when he was down in the dump. So what are you gonna do? I'm not gonna do anything, Minori said. Editor told me no. Oh, editor said not to? Lame. You sound like a child. The rebuff made Minori temper flare. There are other interviews to do. I want to follow up on this, but there isn't any time. Wabap! You dumbass! Toyama hauled off and hit him right across the face. What happened to I write what I feel in my heart? That's the one thing I refuse to back down on. What happened to the guy who used to bitch at me like that? Toyama's words hit their mark with painful precision. The interviews aren't over until you have what you need. No, you refuse to let them be over. You go after the truth no matter what anyone tells you. Isn't that what being a journalist is about? Minori scowled in chagrin. The man was exactly right. Until you have what you need. Those words had stuck with Minori ever since. In fact, he quit the paper to become a freelancer because he couldn't do his job the way he wanted while trapped in that hierarchy. Now he wondered, what if Toyama hadn't killed himself? But instead had been a victim of a terrorist attack. But after considering the idea for a moment, he thought bitterly, so what? The reasons and the details hardly mattered at this point. What mattered was that Toyama was dead. Minori sat down listlessly and stared up at the sky. The blank swath of blue made him feel all the more worn out. Just what had all the days running around been for? He felt so empty. He so hollowed out by loss. All of his motivation had drained away. He had no idea what he should do next. Hey, Minori. What should you do? You've forgotten your passion. You need to get that back. Stand up right now. You just need to forge ahead. Stand up right now. You just need to forge ahead. Yeah, that was his only option, really. He couldn't just let things end like this. And he still didn't have what he needed for his article, so... Minorikawa took a deep breath, readying to get back on his feet. Before he could answer, however, a young man stumbled across his path, taking a nasty fall on the pavement. Ow, damn, that hurts! The youngster scrambled back to his feet and turned to Minorikawa with a snarl. Is it Kiryu? Yeah. What are you looking at, pal? The young man clutched a piece of timber like a club. There was a nasty gleam in his eyes. I just happened to be looking in your direction. Or, I'm not looking at anything. I just happened to be looking in your direction. Shut your yap. Apologize, bitch. Now. The punk raised his cudgel. What for? You tripped me, man. Ain't you gonna apologize for that? The kid had stumbled all on his own, but was probably too embarrassed to admit it. Guess he's gotta vent his anger at someone. Listen, kid, Minorikawa said. It's not my fault you're such a klutz. The hell you just say to me? You got a death wish, pal? With a murderous glare, the punk advanced on him, brandishing his weapon. Hey, Minorikawa said. Is it fun hitting people with that thing? Alright, I'm sorry. Bring it on. Is it fun hitting people with that thing? The corner of the punk's mouth curled up. Oh yeah, real fun. Only a dumbass beats people with their bare hands. You just wind up hurting your fists. If you're gonna enjoy some violence, you gotta have yourself a weapon. Aha, I see. In that case, give it a rest with that stick, yeah? Huh? What for? The punk scowled in irritation. Don't get me wrong, Minorikawa said. I'm just saying there have to be better weapons than that. Something that could take a man down in a single blow. The kid stopped to consider Minorikawa's words for a moment. I getcha. Yeah, you might be right about that. And I think I have just the thing. May as well go with my usual. He tossed away the piece of wood on the side of the road. Don't you go anywhere till I get back, got it? Yeah, sure thing. Minorikawa watched as the punk headed back the way he'd come. Man, he murmured, what a dumbass. Looking around, he spotted a taxi parked close by. Oh, it's our dude. It was Kimizuka. Do you need a ride, sir? Kimizuka asked, all politeness as he opened the back door. If you're heading to that publishing office again, I can get you there in 10 minutes. Kimizuka's driving was smooth as always. He wove his way skillfully through a series of back streets. There was some big explosion earlier, he explained. The main roads are all gridlocked. Yeah, Minorikawa muttered. I was there when it happened. Wow, really? Glad to see you're not hurt then. Still, what a terrible thing. That minivan. I heard someone was inside when it exploded. I'm not sure if you were aware. Yeah, I'm aware. Nothing gets past a reporter like you, I see. Kimizuka flashed Minorikawa an approving smile through the rearview mirror. How much have you heard, then? Rumor has it that the person who died was a middle-aged man. Oh, huh. Heh, we taxi drivers tend to hear quite a bit ourselves, Kimizuka chuckled, but Minorikawa just cast his eyes down forlornly. Look tired, sir. Yeah, I guess so. His reply was barely audible. Suddenly someone rushed out into the street right in front of the cab. Achi! Look out! Bonk! Oh! There was a heavy thunk as the taxi crashed into the pedestrian. Screeching to a halt, Kimizuka and Minorikawa jumped out of the vehicle to find the young man splayed out on the street. Hey, the driver called. You alright? The fallen pedestrian was practically still a kid, and he wasn't moving. Kimizuka hunkered down and just jostled his shoulder, then an expression stiffened in alarm. Minorikawa checked the young man's pulse, but couldn't detect any heartbeat. Uh-oh. Oh no, Kimizuka said. Tears began to well up in his eyes. Minorikawa turned to him in surprise. You knew him? I did. Kimizuka cradled the young man in his arms. I'm sorry, but you have to find yourself another taxi, he said. But where's Hitomi? I'm going to turn myself in to the police. Looking down at the boy's unmoving form, Minorikawa felt a pang of guilt. No, he said. I'm the one who's been asking you to drive around so recklessly all day. This is on me, too. But I'll go with you to the cops. The two men decided to head to the station together to surrender themselves. There probably wouldn't be time to work on writing articles while they were being interrogated. but that's just how it'd have to be. This is the right thing to do. Yonikawa just had to keep telling himself that, knowing that this was the truth. Okay, bad end, I guess. I mean, well, the fact that then that, Achi now doesn't get beat up and die. Wow, Achi's dying a lot. If we jump to his story should be clear, and then we can probably change it so that he doesn't run into the intersection. Yeah, exactly. But I think I'm done for today. Again, like I said, I'm a little tired, want to get to bed earlier today, want to go lay in bed and roll around for a little bit, and chill. But okay, so we have played a bit of Achi's story, we've played a bit of Maria. We're at a keep out Onosawa and Maria. We have cleared up the bad ending in Achi's story, so that's good. And we haven't played any of Kano yet, but that will be for next time. Anyways. Oh man, yet another exciting installment of 428 Shibuya Scramble. But yeah, that's it for me today. See you tomorrow. Then there's not gonna be any stream tomorrow actually, L. Next stream might be Wednesday. There's a small chance that I will stream either on Wednesday or Friday this week. Just because God, my stream schedule is so scuffed these days. Because I'm just busy all the time, but because there probably won't be a stream on Saturday, but there will be stream on Sunday. And we haven't had a stream on a Sunday in a while, which is nice. But yeah, I'll figure it out, you know. You guys just get the live notification. I'll post in Discord, we're chilling, I guess. But yeah, sorry that streams have been so chaotic and like sporadic lately, and the schedule is never consistent. Hopefully it will be more back on schedule, like by the end of the summer, but I'm just really busy in the next month, next 2 months. Like I said, I'm moving and just work has been kind of crazy, so busy all the time, but hopefully in a couple of months things will go back to more normal. So anywho,
Thanks again for coming by, everyone, and I'll see you all at the next stream, whatever it may be, whether that be Wednesday or Friday or Sunday. Anyways, have a good rest of your days, have a good rest of your weeks, but I'll see you guys until Sunday, and I'll see you whatever. Bye now!